Hi everybody, welcome back, and welcome if you're new here. I hope you're all well. I'm actually filming rather late in the evening, hence the candlelight. This is going to be the first of a series of videos I've been preparing for on my favourite of each of the 78 tarot cards. And this has been really tricky because I aimed to pick just one of each card from as many different decks as possible, but that has literally been an impossible task. Some decks have 25 cards that are my favourites, so there are some repeats of decks, and there may be more than one card on the odd occasion. I've tried to pick cards for the right reasons, so not just because they're pretty, although there may be some that are there for that reason, but mostly I wanted to choose cards that I had a connection with, that really symbolised the meaning of the cards for me, and that I had a really good reason to choose as a favourite. So we're starting this evening with the major arcana or arcana, depending on your preference, apologies. And obviously we start with card 0, the Fool. So let's get into it. So my choice for the Fool is from the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. This was an easy pick for me because to me there is an optimism in the Fool that is shown so beautifully in this card. I used to be a dancer and I can relate therefore to this figure of the Fool. She almost teases us with whether she will take that step forward. She's balanced so precariously on the edge, and you kind of feel that whether she falls or flies, she's going to do it her way with grace, poise and style. And I love that the cat isn't holding her back or trying to warn her, as it is in the RWS. And in fact, it almost seems excited to take the jump with her. And so yeah, I love the optimism of this card. So my choice for the Magician comes from the First Aid for Broken Hearts Tarot. I love this card because it seems to me that the Fool from the first card has taken the step and have used their ingenuity, the tools at their disposal, to survive that step from the cliff. And they've caught a lift with a passing eagle. And whilst they still have the potential to fall or be dropped, at this moment the sky is the limit. It gives us faith that taking that first step was worth it. And the eagle is pulling the Fool up, but their eyes are staring downward, which ties in nicely with the as above so below component for me. It's subtle, but it's there. So this is such a positive card, full of potential, and that's how I see the Magician. Next we have the High Priestess from the Lightseers Tarot. This card to me represents intuition, inward-looking thought, and so all the High Priestesses that have their eyes open and are looking straight forward, as it is in the RWS, don't quite follow that for me. I like the fact that this High Priestess looks as if she is in meditation. She's looking deeply inward, her eyes are closed. She's surrounded by colours and auras that come when you meditate, and to me that speaks more of the High Priestess than many of the other versions I've seen, and so that's my reason for choosing this particular card. For the Empress, I have broken my own rule about going with RWS namings, and I have chosen the Earth Mother from the Greenwich Tarot. My reason for doing this is that, for me, the Empress is Mother Earth, the Earth Mother. The Empress embodies all the qualities of Mother Earth. She's nurturing, she brings abundance. To me, they are one and the same, and this card is the perfect representation of that idea for me. My Emperor comes from the Bee Tarot. I love this card. The reason he embodies the Emperor for me more than many cards that follow the RWS system is that whilst he has authority, he has experience, he has knowledge, he's not completely austere, he has a kindness in his face, and the bees that make up his beard, and indeed other parts of him, flock to him, they trust him, he is a safe home for them. And so whilst he embodies all the, shall we say, stricter qualities of the Emperor, he also embodies the softer parts of the Emperor. And that for me is why this card is my favourite Emperor card. My Hierophant comes from the Twilight Realm, a Tarot of Fairy. Slightly bizarre choice perhaps, quite an underrated deck. But I love this Hierophant because I find that most images of this card have deep religious connotations, and this is something that I don't really connect with and makes the card quite a difficult one for me. But in this, we have tradition, we have the old ways, we have somebody who may be a midwife or a healer, a wise woman, and therefore she embodies the traditions and the old ways and the knowledge of the Hierophant without the religious connotations, which is something I personally appreciate. I had to choose more than one card for the lovers. This first one is from the Fifth Spirit Tarot, and I know I've spoken about this recently. This card makes me look at the lovers in so many different and new ways. Mostly, I love the fact that it represents self-love for me. It represents loving the bits of yourself that perhaps you feel aren't so lovable. And that to me is a wonderful interpretation of the card and is why it's one of my absolute favourites. My second choice for the lovers is a card from the Marchetti Tarot. Not only is this card relatable for me because it features dancers, but I know the experience of dancing in a partnership, how much trust there has to be in each other, but also how much freedom and joy there is in that relationship and in that dance. And I think that's a really wonderful representation for the card of the lovers. An unusual choice next for the Chariot. This comes from the Dark Wood Tarot. I love birds of prey, and this particular card for me is mostly about focus. And when a bird of prey hunts, when it spots its prey, it is totally and completely focused. This bird of prey is forward focused. Nothing will distract or deter this bird from catching its prey, from reaching its goal. And that's a really good embodiment of the Chariot for me. My first choice of strength card comes from the Wanderer's Tarot. I love this depiction. It's unusual not to have a lion and a woman, but in this one we have a young, sweet, innocent girl in her little pink dress who completely has this fiery beast under her spell and under her control. And unlike many strength cards, she doesn't even need to make physical contact to gain that control. And for my second choice of strength card, I've gone back to the Lightseer's Tarot. I love this card because it speaks to the inner embodiment of the strength card. It shows an inner strength and inner confidence. Instead of having the line and the figure separately, it shows that they're one and the same, that your strength, your confidence, all lie within you. And that to me is the perfect embodiment of the strength card. I've chosen a hermit from a sweet little mages deck called the Witchlight Tarot. This was a really difficult choice because many hermits are of a similar vein, and I liked this one because it's so different and peaceful and shows an introspection, a journey within, and a clear path and a clear destination ahead. And it does this in such a different way that I can't help but be drawn to this card. I've gone a little rogue with my Wheel of Fortune choice. This is from La Commedia a Soggetto Tarot, and I like this because it depicts a ride. We're all on this ride, on this Wheel of Fortune. We all are in this together. We're all in it for the ups and the downs, the lows and the highs, the sadness and the happiness. And I think that this is a fun, but actually genuinely quite deep interpretation of the Wheel of Fortune, and that's why I've chosen this. And whilst I've tried to choose cards not just for aesthetic reasons, I had to pop this Wheel of Fortune in because it's so cute, and it is purely for the aesthetics. This is another card from the Twilight Realm Tarot of Fairy, and it's just so sweet. I love this image so much that I just had to sneak it in. I did struggle a little bit to find a Justice card, but I've gone with this one from the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot. Now, whilst I don't always get brilliant readings from this deck, I do absolutely love the artwork. And I love the fact that the figure in this card is facing away from the reader, because to me that indicates that she isn't looking forward and judging who is in front of her. She is also turning away, turning inward, and judging, reflecting, and understanding herself. And I think that that's a really important part of the Justice card, and is why I've chosen this one. My first of two choices for the Hanged One or the Hanged Man is from the Earth Woman Tarot. The reason I enjoy this card so much is that there's no sign of her forcibly being hung. She's made that decision herself to hang. She's enjoying the experience, I think, and she is taking the time herself to pause, to take stock, to reflect, and I really like that interpretation of this card. And my second choice comes from the Lightseers again. I have to say that I probably could have chosen every single one of the mages from the Lightseers for this video. However, the reason this one is included is because my daughter does aerial silk classes, and she pretty much insisted that this card went into the video, and so here it is. So I have gone rogue again with a number of choices for this particular card. The first of which comes again from the First Aid for Broken Hearts Tarot. What I love about this card is that it moves away from the traditional skeleton, slightly horror-based imagery that a lot of these cards use. I love that it's so gentle, I love that it's so comforting, and whilst it does show an ending, it also shows the new start, the new beginning, the rebirth as a destination ahead. And I think that that's a really special and genuinely lovely interpretation. And choice number 2 comes again from the Fifth Spirit Tarot. I love the fact that this card shows a life cycle, it shows the ending, but it also shows the rebirth, and it does this through generations, and I think that's a really lovely way of showing the endings and the new beginnings of this particular card. And finally, this one comes from another repeated deck, the Earthwoman Tarot. It's just a beautiful image, and it absolutely 100% embodies everything that this card is about. It's an ending, but from the ending comes a new beginning, comes new life. And I think this image is just stunning. After some struggle, I've chosen a card from the Tarot of Mystical Moments for Temperance. My reason for this is because of the peaceful feeling of this card, the balance of the doves either side, and just honestly the soft, calm beauty of it. That to me says temperance, and that's why I've chosen this. And the Fifth Spirit is back for the Devil card, and this is the first choice. I absolutely love the idea of the two people from this card being puppets, being manipulated, and that's such a unique but insightful interpretation of this card, and that's why I love it so much. And choice number 2 comes from the Modern Spellcasters Tarot. This is great purely because it kind of simplifies the meaning to some degree. I like the fact that you can see the particular vices of the two people that are being trapped, and it really kind of hammers home the addiction, the harmful behaviours, the harmful patterns that this card represents, and that's why I've chosen this card. So this choice for the Tower comes from the Hush Tarot, and really this was the catalyst for making these videos, because I realised that this is my favourite Tower card. The reason being because I like a card that shows the balance between the positive and the negative interpretations, and this does that so beautifully. You can see the destruction of the tower, you can see that it's been broken, you can see that it's been harmed, you can see it's been destroyed, but within that there are birds making a nest, there are birds rebuilding something from the ruins, and I think that's the most beautiful interpretation of what can be a really quite scary card to draw, and that's why I think this is a really special version of the Tower. This version of the star comes from the Earthwoman once again, and I have to say I really struggled to choose a star card. There are so many really beautiful, stunning star cards out there, so I couldn't narrow it down, and I let my daughter choose her favourite. So that's why this particular card is in the video. My choice of moon card comes from the Nicoletta Giaccoli Tarot. This was a difficult choice again because there are so many great moon cards, but this one is so atmospheric and beautiful, but it is also a little bit dark. It also perfectly shows the hidden sides of the moon, the illusion side of the moon, with the reflections and the birds just appearing above the surface. It's such an atmospheric and deep card that I think it's the perfect choice for the moon. It may not surprise you to learn that we are back with the Lightseers Tarot again for the Sun card. The reason being is that the keyword prompt that I have used for this card is illumination, and this card completely and utterly embodies that. It's full of joy. It really speaks of the sun to me much more than the traditional image of the baby on the horse, and it's just pure, unadulterated, divine happiness and joy, and that to me is a beautiful card. My choice for the Judgment card comes from the Storyteller's Tarot. I've been trying not to refer to the guidebook at all and giving you my feelings and thoughts and interpretations of the imagery in the cards, but there is a little something from the guidebook of this card which makes it a great choice for me. The image references the part of Dante's Divine Comedy where Beatrice is guiding Dante through purgatory and the afterlife, and helps him cleanse himself of, I guess, his sins, for the want of a better word, and aids him in his path to spiritual growth. And whilst it has its religious connotations, I still think that the story and the gentleness of the image is a really good way of interpreting the Judgment card, and feels a little bit more balanced, I think, than the traditional imagery. Hope that makes sense. But yes, that story is the reason this is one of my favourite Judgment cards. And last, but of course never least, is the World, and this is from the beloved Druidcraft Tarot. Now, not only do I love the artwork in this card, but I have a really personal connection to this. I've spoken many times about the transformative tarot reading that I had back in 2023, and one of the first cards, if not the first card that was turned over, was this exact card, the World from the Druidcraft Tarot. And the lady doing the reading mentioned that a dancer was depicted in this card, and it was one of the first things she said to me, and from that point onwards I was absolutely transfixed by the whole experience. I fell in love with tarot, I think, through this card, and I wanted to learn tarot because of that reading and because of this card, and that is why I've chosen this particular version of the World, because of the really personal connection that I have to it. So there we have it, my little journey through my favourite of the major cards. I appreciate it's quite a personal thing. Not everybody's going to interpret the cards the same or have the same feelings about the cards, but I hope that you were interested and got some enjoyment out of listening to me muse and waffle on each of the cards. Hopefully I shall make a few more in this series, but in the meantime, thank you so much for being here, for listening. Please, if you feel called to, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and apart from that, do take care, and hopefully I shall see you here again soon.